And today's topic for my talk is WordPress website security, how to make your WordPress website secure. So I assume that most of you have your WordPress websites, right? And security is one of the biggest concerns we do all have. Because in today's world, when millions of websites are getting hacked these days, it's very difficult to make it secure and to save it from the hackers to take control of your website and save it. So let's start on the session. That is your WordPress website secure? Okay. Okay, with the session goals we have today, that is, we need to first find out how websites are getting hacked, how we could fix them, how we could stop compromising the hackers from hacking our website. So this would be the goal of today, of this session. So 7.5 million web attacks that happens every day across the globe on millions of websites. So you could get an idea that how big security issue is, whether you're working on any kind of platform, be it WordPress, be it anything else. So security is one of the biggest concerns that we have today. So how do the hackers hack the website? That's one of the important questions which we do have. So hacking WordPress websites. So this could be done, with SQL injections, with vulnerabilities in your plugins or themes, or in your website, or anything which is making your website easily accessible to the hackers. So this is actually a very big concern for most of the developers, for most of the users, that the website is secure. And the vast majority of these attacks are via backdoor methods with SQL injection in place, in brute force attacks, and different other methods available to these guys. So hacking WordPress website, like as I said, it could be done through injection, through broken authentication and session management like XSS, or the cross-site scripting and security misconfiguration that takes place, and some components with known vulnerabilities. And this is one of the biggest reasons that WordPress.org, that is the official repository for your plugins, they do security checks frequently on the plugins available, so that you should download the plugins from there. One of the reasons I'm focusing on security is that because most people download the plugins from WordPress.org, and that is the only official platform which is available for downloading free plugins GPL compatible from WordPress. There are some other sections available on the internet where you could download the plugins as well, but you need to make sure that the plugins are fully compatible, with the security issues. So don't, establish a false sense of security. Don't assume that if you're not writing down, a content which is not popular, or you're just launching your website only for your local audience, you won't get hacked. So hackers don't see that how popular is your website, or how you're just serving a local audience. They could hack your website easily, even if it's not popular. They're just looking for different service access, which is if your plugin or your theme or your website gives vulnerabilities to them, they could easily hack them. So there is no security, there is no magic wand, in security. It's everything you need to do yourself. It's not like click and install and everything is done. You need to make sure that you cover all the loopholes available, on your website and cover them all in detail. So we'll start with WordPress hardening. So hardening means securing your website that the hackers can't access them to your website to get hacked. And the tools and the things which I'm going to tell you would definitely secure your website about 95% from where it was earlier. So first step I would recommend is secure the login page and prevent the brute force attacks. So brute force attacks is like just wild guesses with a combination of numbers, keywords, and different things available to people, hackers. They could try a combination and try hacking your website. So the thing I would recommend is using strong passwords with alphanumeric numbers, keywords, and different characters available, so that it's very difficult for them to make a combination and try to hack your website. So fixing everything, that's much more important, like website hosts, website applications, vulnerability in your computer, in your WordPress, in your web, you're securing a network, and most important thing is keeping a backup of everything. So let's say if in any case your website get hacked, so the last solution would be to get a backup of your website restored fully. So you need to make sure that you take backups frequently. And you need to make sure that you're covering the database security, you're, as I said, keeping strong passwords, you're securing your login pages at WP, and you're monitoring who is logging at your website, and you're not giving access to anybody which is not trustable. So these are one of the few things that is needed for fixing your security issues. So website host. So your website host starts with selecting the appropriate WordPress hosting platform. You should see that where are you actually going to host your website to, and it is must that you are doing you're selecting a host which is trusted over online. And your web host is not as responsible for securing your website. You are. So, you have to make sure that your WordPress website is fully secure. So, as I said, vulnerabilities could be in anything, be it your themes, be it your plugins, or maybe this is the reason, WordPress releases frequent updates. Whenever they come across vulnerability in anything, be it in WordPress, they release a security patch immediately as soon as possible and available. And this is the reason we see 4.8, 0.1, 0.2 covering one of the major security updates on PHP mailer functions. And this is why WordPress is very keen to have security updates available as soon as possible so that you are secure. And this is one of the biggest reasons that WordPress is so popular among people, because it makes sure that your platform gets secure. So one of the other methods I would recommend is installing your themes and plugins from WordPress.org, because that's the official platform for downloading plugins, and it is being frequently checked by these people, so that they don't have any security problems into it. And once they discover a security vulnerability in a plugin or a theme, they immediately put it off from the repository. So vulnerabilities in the server and network. So you have to first make sure that your Office network is secure. Are you utilizing the HTTPS with sensitive data, right? That even includes the WP admin and the site which is accessible to the users. And you have to scan your website regularly, but you need permissions from your server for that, for scanning your website regularly. So, as I said in the beginning, that you need to use strong passwords. Yeah. Sure.
Sorry about that, folks. I just noticed the slides didn't seem like they were updated.
Okay.
There's been something wrong there. Sorry about that.
So it is the strong passwords, as I said in the beginning, that is much important. Like, you need to have unique passwords for every login, lengthy passwords which is not easy to crack. Consider a service like LastPass or anything which makes it more secure, and use a two-step factor authentication, because that's much more important, and that lets you make your website more secure, because even if your password is guessed by anybody, you have a second factor in place for that. Okay. So we have two-factor authentication, as I said, where you can have the email and passcode available, right? And with this, you could implement on your website and make it more secure. Okay. So yeah, database and environment security. You need to make sure that you're keeping your database and your WordPress website on two different platforms, because that helps a lot in keeping things much more secure. Yeah. Okay, so configuring auto updates, that's much more important. You need to make sure that your WordPress website is automatically updated whenever there is a release of the updates available, and this could be done by adding this particular line of codes in your wp-config.php, right? If you insert these three lines, the first one in the wp-config for wp auto update code to true. So what would happen is, whenever there is an update release for your WordPress website, your site gets automatically updated without you interfering into it. So you don't have to log in every time WordPress releases a security update, and this is automatically done. And there is two line of code which is easily available if you add this to your plugins and themes. That is auto update plugin. It's a filter available. If you add that in your plugin and theme, it is automatically updated for your installed plugins. So another important thing is to hide your WordPress version number. So the first thing these hackers do is guess what version you are actually on, right? Because if they know that you are not on the latest version, they know what loopholes are available on that particular version of WordPress, right? And then they could try the same methods which is available on the internet for hacking that. So you have to make sure that you don't disclose your WordPress version number, right? And for adding that, there is a bit of code which is being added to your functions.php in your theme, which would hide your WordPress version number from the website, which is available online. So another method of securing the wp-config file, that it is not accessible by anybody online, is by adding a bit of code in the .htxs file on your server. So you have to make sure that you add this particular line of code which is written here, and this would secure, or this would make your wp-config not available to anybody on the website, so they don't get access to it by any means. So this is very much important. Other thing is, when brute force attacks happen on your website, these hackers, they try a lot of combinations, as I said earlier, to hack your website. But if you have the limit login attempts, installed, or if you limit your login attempts on your website so that maximum like 3 or 4 times a person could try to log in on your website with the wrong password, you can block that IP address for a few hours, for permanently, or for a day. It totally depends upon you how you would like to block them. And there are some plugins available as well on WordPress.org for limiting those login attempts and letting these hackers IP address get banned. And you could even whitelist your own IP address so that you don't get yourself blocked in any way. So only use SSH and SFTP. Never use plain old FTP for accessing your WordPress website, files. So plugins are cloud-based solutions, which is better for making security. I would say both. So you need to have security plugins as well installed, and you need to have cloud-based solutions as well in the form of WAFs. That's web application firewalls that blocks the DDoS attacks and other backdoor attacks happening on your network. So there are some, as I said, awesome security plugins out there on WordPress.org. You should try some. And the plugins I like the most is WordFence. There's a WP Limited and SPAC, WP Fail to Ban, Google Authentication, that is two-factor authentication, and Jetpack Protect. These plugins, if you're installing on your WordPress website, will make sure that your website is fully secured. So plugin-based WF offerings. So what are the benefits of installing a Windows application, web application firewall? It acts as a web application firewall, as I said. It scans for basic malware and vulnerabilities on your website, supports two-factor authentication, larger communities help with troubleshooting, and free versions with limited features are available on .org as well. So one of the plugins called Security is available on .org, WordPress.org, which you could download and install, and that would harden your WordPress website by just blocking giving access to these hackers directly. So they do have some disadvantages as well. Like it has been, it's a service being managed outside the WordPress interface because it needs to deal with the network, and typically limited security features are available in the free version, so you might have to upgrade to the paid plans for that. But it gives you a lot of security in any case. So WordPress security, that is, it's not a child's play. So I've given you an example, like if you're doing it right way and the wrong way, right? So that's Mr. Correct, which is, the plugins which are really smart, older, experienced, responsible, and trusted. And I misspelled it, it has to be Mr. Incorrect, which is smart, younger, curious, mischievous, and calamitous. So a few moments later, after you install, your plugins, security plugins, and everything, and then this happens on your WordPress website. If you're going to the wrong way, so you have to make sure that you are installing it in the right way, the trusted plugins, and which helps you save. So the influence, that is entities with some authority level, not as simple as good and bad, potentially inactive, dematerialized zone, trust levels should be re-evaluated. So these things should be kept in mind when installing the security plugins. So backups, as I said, very important. So let's say if you haven't secured your website and it get hacked, the last solution for that to retrieve your content, your website back on track, is to restore a backup. That's the last tool that you have. So backup everything. Perform backups daily. You could schedule it if you don't have, you don't need to manually do it. You can install a backup plugin which automatically takes backups every hour or every day or every week as you feel like, and it could include both the files and database. The files are something which are not changed daily. You are occasionally changing it, so maybe you could keep the interval for the backups for files on let's say on a day basis, and database, which is much more important because something is happening every moment at your website every hour if you're having a lot of traffic. So you need to make sure you are backing up your database every hour. So yeah, that's very important that you should routinely check your backup integrity, maybe weekly. That suits you. And thank you. Any questions, please?